Rock stars, good morning to you. It is May the 3rd. This is day 6 of our 7-day guitar challenge by the title of Your Guitar Breakthrough. So this is where I'm walking you through the essentials. We haven't gone through every single lesson that I'm setting you up with today, the bundle, right? If you guys have not seen this already, you need to get a hold of it. It's 50 of my top lessons. Now, if you're a pro member, if you're a UGS Pro member, you have this already, okay? So just FYI, you don't need to get it. You're welcome to, but alas, or not alas, but just you don't need it, okay? Okay, good. So if you haven't got a hold of those lessons though, please do that right now. You'll find that in the description of the video on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, you should see it there, or look around the page. You're gonna see this. It's a link. Just click on it. It is literally pay what you can. I know, I ran this past some of my buddies and they said, that is crazy, Eric. And I said, dude, I'm gonna do this because, man, I was gonna have little E come up today. It's been crazy. My son, my 9-year-old son, right? We were at Home Depot this morning making a birdhouse, doing the dad-son thing, building stuff. But he's been doing these fun little lemonade stands lately, and we go out there and we just do it for free. You know, people tip and that sort of thing, but we just do it because it's fun. It's awesome. We meet people and they're happy, and sometimes we get tips, and that's awesome. So that was basically the idea of this. It's like, let's go ahead and do that, and let's make this course available. I know that times are tough right now for folks, so I'm like, let's make this course available for everyone, and it's many things. It's the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard, then it's also some visual jam tracks, and then we also have bar chords. I also have my charts and tablature section where you actually get the songs as well. And then we have a whole thing on bar chords, which we're talking about today. And then there's a mini course on blues rhythm, and then a mini course on blues lead. And you get all of that literally for pay what you can. But Eric, I feel bad. Like one of my students wrote to me yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago, and they said, man, I really feel bad. I want the course, but I feel bad not paying. Dude, I've literally set this thing up and created this so that if you can't do it, you can't pay for it. That's it. It's pay what you can. And then there's other people who, and thank you so much for the donations, by the way, yesterday via the old tip jar. We decided to put this thing up here because you kind folks were tipping via Super Chat, which Google literally takes like 30% right away and we're like, that's just not cool. People think they're donating to the cause and they're not. Well, they are, but partially. So this thing right here, this thing, you can hit that with your phone and you can donate. And we had a bunch of folks yesterday who donated. So for those folks, thank you so much. If I didn't shout you out, I will. Here's the deal. We're going to find a way where I can get the messages. Now, I think Mike may be watching today. If he's not, then he's not. But he was letting me know, some of the folks yesterday. So hello, James. Hello, Frank. I just emailed you back, buddy. Mikey Stafford, DJM. That's a new name there today. I hadn't seen that. Winter 56. G. Rick Saunders. Hello, sir. Analog Kid. Stivosaurus. Guitar Man. Russ R. Kurt Collins. Gene, Drew, and Stafford. Beautiful. Good to see you. A lot of my pro members here today. Love that. So here's the deal. You guys have the course, and now we're going to move forward, okay? Anything else that I need to tell you? I don't think so. I think that's it. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about bar chords. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about bar chords. And I'm not going to get into all of here's what we're doing today. Today is going to be more about getting your questions answered. Yes, I'm going to be talking about bar chords, but I'm also going to be referring to the chat a lot today, okay? Because I want to get you, I want to get you set up, okay? And here's the deal. I teach lessons all the time. I really want to hear from you, and I really want to get you beyond the hump. I say to folks all the time, if you go to my website right now and you try to get an hour, it's $300 an hour, like $297, right? Same thing. or you have me here for the next 2 hours. Take advantage. What are you having problems with today? Where are you not moving forward? What are you struggling with? What questions do you have? There are no stupid questions. Everybody starts at the beginning, so, there are tons of beginners here. So any question that you ask, I guarantee you there's a bunch of other people here that are going to be happy that you asked that question because they're too shy to ask it, okay? So please go ahead and ask the questions. I'm here for you, and that's exactly what we're here for. Technique, theory. We talked about a bunch of theory and stuff yesterday. I discovered something theoretically yesterday that I hadn't really pondered. Probably stumbled across it and thought about it in other ways kind of organically, but this was something that I was just like, oh man, that's right. And it was something that was completely revolutionary to me, simple but revolutionary, which is has a lot of the stuff the way that I teach is I teach real simple stuff, but it's stuff that usually you hadn't seen before, right? So I'm learning all the time. I've been playing for over 40 years and I'm still learning. So there are no dumb questions. Please bring those questions, okay? Today we have Kansas in the house. We got Hawaii represented, Mississippi, Colorado. We got Montgomery, Texas. We got British Columbia, Missouri. Everybody, right? Scotland. We got the whole world here today. Central Illinois, we got California, Sanibel Island, 80s. I love that you guys tell me where you're from. I love that so much. In fact, if you have not told me where you're from, please let me know, because it's so cool to think. Yeah, it'd be cool if we had like a little map and there would be like little dots that lit up all over the place that would show us where everybody is. How cool is that, man? I mean, I know we've been doing this for quite some time, but how cool is it that we can just log in and that we can talk like literally all over the world? It's so cool. Missouri, Toronto, San Diego. Hello, Kathy, with Yoga Lifestyle. Check out Kathy online. She has online classes. She does what I do, but with yoga. And I'm going to come to some of your classes here, Kathy, I promise. Got a few things I need to take care of at the moment. Life is a bit chaotic right now, in a good way though. Heidelberg, Germany. Yeah. George says, wow, talk, no contest. See ya. See ya, George. No one talked about a contest. I'm just giving away a huge course and a bunch of other stuff. But George, by all means, don't let us keep you from doing what you need to do. Dallas, hello. Here's Mike. He's here. Buchanan, Michigan, Oregon, good. And we can all get along. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's talk a bit. I'm not seeing any questions, but bring those questions, okay? Seriously, be thinking about where you're at right now and where do you need to move forward to. Let me help you get there, okay? Let's talk about bar chords here for a moment. First off, a show of hands. Seal Beach, California, beautiful. Wolfgang. New name there. Good to see you, my friend. Show of hands. I tell you what, why don't you do this? If you can play bar chords, say yes bar chords, okay? Or just yes. Yes bar chords. If you can't play bar chords, say no bar chords, or just say no. And this will give me a little heads up, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to go into teaching you here about bar chords if everybody can play bar chords. Then I'm just assuming that you guys don't know. This is where your interaction really comes in handy, my friends, okay? So let's do that today. Let's get a little bit more interactive today, okay? A B flat 7 bar chord. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses so far. Good. Well, that makes me happy, because I'm seeing a lot of folks that are in my program, and that means that they have the bar chords. Okay, beautiful. Hello, Cowboy Preacher out there in Louisville, Kentucky. Cowboy Preacher, right now we're answering the question, can you play bar chords? Okay, we have a few no's in here, and don't be afraid. Look, man, we're on a continuum. So look, okay, here come the no's. So you don't have to be afraid of being the only person saying something, because you're not, I promise you. Okay, so we have 4 no's already. So let's do this. For those folks who do know the bar chords, would you hang in there with me for a minute for these folks? Let's get them up to par here on the bar chords. And yeah, let's do that, okay? Now, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly show you just how powerful they are, but then really I'm going to get in the nitty-gritty of showing you how to play a bar chord, because all the different types of chords, so we have more no's coming in here, and some more yeses, okay? I want to just show you the actual bit, like how to think about them, okay? And then, because in the course you have the actual forms and stuff like that. So let's talk about it, okay? Christine's, heck yeah. Okay, here we go. So now, listen up, because this is, I'm telling you, this is the panacea for you playing bar chords. I promise you. This is not hype. It's 100% true. I don't have time for hype. But I'll tell you what it is, and if I get excited about it, then I'm going to be excited. And I am excited about this. It's because this. Check it out. I said to you yesterday, right, we're on a continuum. Every single thing that everybody does in the world that's great, they could not do at one point. The biggest things, the most powerful runners and pole vaulters and Olympians and everything else, they could not do those things. Remember, the guy or gal who hits that pole vault, jumps over, right, once couldn't run. You got to run before you can jump over stuff with a pole, right? They couldn't run. And before that, they couldn't walk. And before walking, they couldn't crawl. And before crawling, they couldn't even turn over on their tummies, right? It's a continuum. We all are on the same continuum with these things. So the point being, you learn, you get better. That's the path. Don't ever think that path's not available, like it's impossible. That's a ridiculous notion. That doesn't exist. You need to be able to move forward, but it takes practice, right? Okay, so now that we know that, this is how I like to break everything down, is I like to break it down in pieces, in small pieces, so that you can go, oh, there's a success. Oh, there's a success. Oh, there's a success, right? You've heard the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? There was a man who literally ate an entire airplane. You can look it up online. It's not fake. It's not AI. He didn't do it in one fell swoop. He did it over many, 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 many years. Ate a whole airplane. So ridiculous. But the whole notion is you can do anything big if you take the time and you break it down into smaller pieces. So same thing with this bar chord. I'm going to break this down for you in pieces so that you can understand this is all you have to do and how you need to approach your chords. Now, F chord, F major chord. Once you understand, once you can play an F major chord, once you can play that, every chord form that we form allows us 12 chords because we just move them up the fretboard. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, etc. We have 12 notes in the alphabet, so there we go. We got 12 chords, 12 major chords right there. So any form that we form, 12 exit, that's equivalently the amount of chords that you know. So if I end up showing you, 6 forms, that's 72 chords, because 6 times 12 is 72, right? Last time I checked. So here we go. So F is kind of like if you can get this chord, you can get them all. Now watch this. First, let me show you that you can take a major chord, make it minor 7, make it 7, easily with just moving some of these fingers around, right? Some of you know this. We can have a major chord there, we can have a 7th chord here, we can have a minor chord, a minor 7 chord. That's 8 chords that I just showed you. 8 times 12 is 96. So literally just knowing how to play this one F chord, this is your carrot, by the way, I'm giving you a carrot. If you can get this F chord, then you'll be able to form these 8 forms. It's going to take some time, and then you're going to multiply 8 times 12, and now all of a sudden you have 96 chords. What? Yes, it's awesome. Okay, so Analog Kids should have said no. That's all right, my friend. We're here for you, okay? There are 60 people here. Many of those won't be doing bar chords. I agree. So let's talk about it. We got 65 folks here now. Okay, so here's the deal. What people do is they say, oh, I'm going to play a bar chord, and they go to do it, and they're like, it's just, I'm frustrated. Because they're expecting it to happen right away. And it has never happened like that in the history of mankind, of womankind, of person kind, of amoeba kind, of any kind. Okay? It's never happened like that. So why would you expect that you should just be able to come up here and do what I'm doing with my hand and get it? It won't happen. It didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for Eddie Van Halen or any other guitar player ever in the history of ever. It took time to practice, okay? So what I do is I approach it from this method. I say, forget about 6 notes right away. That's bonkers. Who's going to be able to play 6 notes right away? 0 guitar players in the history of ever have done this. No one's picked up the guitar and played an F chord right away. It's never happened. So what I say is learn 2 notes at a time. And then when you can get the 2 notes at a time, then we do 3 notes at a time. Once you can do that, then we move to 4 notes. Once we do that, we move to 5 notes. And then you get finally your whole chord. Now, why would we do that? Because what it's going to do is it's going to isolate the thing, the problem that you have. And you're going to know exactly what the problem is, right? It's kind of like if you are, I don't know, taking a bunch of supplements or something like that, and you don't know the one supplement. This is me, by the way. I do this all the time. I'm taking a bunch of supplements, and I'm like, man, I feel great. And I'm like, well, I don't know which one it was. I'm taking like 90, whatever. No, I'm taking like whatever, 12 or 15. Or so it's like, I don't know what's, so now I try to isolate things a little bit more. But guitar, I do it all the time. I don't do it so much with supplements because I always want to feel good. I'm always taking all sorts of brain food and stuff like that. Literally just before here, like 5 minutes before, I was drinking my drink, and it's awesome. Okay, so for instance, if I want to play this F chord, what I'm going to do is I'm going to think 2 notes at a time. So I'm going to go to strings 1 and 2, and I just want to. What I want you to do is take your finger here, bar it, and what that means is laying across 2 frets, you know, or at least, 2 strings or more. And so you're laying down. You're not playing on your fingertips for this. On some notes you are, but in other notes you're not. For the bar, you're not. You're doing this thing where you're laying your hands straight across like that. And you're placing all your fingers down like you would a capo, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to bar. And if you use the pad of your finger, that's one thing. The side of your finger is even harder. So if you take the side of your finger and you kind of lean your finger over just a little bit more, and then get it as close to the frets as possible, and then make sure your thumb's in the back of the neck. I know this is a lot of stuff, but I promise you'll get this. This is what every guitar player who knows how to play bar chords had to do to some degree, okay? So here you go, strings 1 and 2. Be able to play that, and do that with me right now. If you're somebody who can't play bar chords, do this with me right now. Okay? Once you can do that, great. Pat yourself on the back. We're getting there. We're moving there. You're like, but I can't play a bar chord. My friend, you're building a bar chord, okay? You're playing it, which just, we're doing smaller ones right now. You gotta walk before you run. You gotta run before you pole vault, right? You gotta crawl before you walk. You gotta toddle before you whatever. You know, you get the point, right? So here we go. Strings 1 and 2. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the strings 2 and 3, and I'm just going to play this right here. And I'm doing that with fingers 1 and 2. It does have to do with left hand strength, how-to noise, it does. What it has more to do with is technique. Because I used to have these big burly dudes come in, and you know, country boys and stuff like that, wanting to learn how to play guitar, and they'd be struggling with these bar chords, right? And then I'd have some little kid who came in right before him who's playing these bar chords, and he's like, and I'm like, I know, it's because it's technique. It has less to do with strength, more to do with technique. Well, I was with my boy this morning. We were at Home Depot, and we were hammering. We were making a little birdhouse, I said, right? And he's holding the hammer. Imagine this was a hammer. It's not a hammer, but imagine this is a hammer and this is the head. And he's holding it like this, and he's going, and he's like trying to push the nail in. It's a real small nail, so it's fairly easy to hit in. But he is not great with his fine motor skills. So he's kind of grinding it in there. I said, buddy, grab here and then smack it in, okay? And then he's like, oh, wow, now it's working, right? Because he realizes that he doesn't have enough leverage here. Now he has leverage. And that's what we're doing here is we're doing leverage and we're doing techniques. And if you understand the technique is way more powerful than the strength, okay? Strength is good, though. Definitely needs some strength. More strength than you have in your hand, then less fatigue you have. So it's not wrong. Left hand strength or fretting hand strength is 100% true. But technique can save you having to press down very hard. So how's that? Well, don't play back here. Play up here. You know, here, you're gonna have to press so much harder if you're even gonna get a note out. So scooch it up. Play on the side of your finger. That's a little trick. Then we're gonna go to fingers 1 and 2. Okay, then on strings 3 and 4, you're going to do that right there. Second finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string. 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 4th string. You could also play this with your pinky because that's the way we're going to set the chord up here in just a minute. And then you're going to go, that's fingers 3 and 4 on frets 3 of strings 5 and 4. And then lastly, you're going to put your first finger here on the 1st fret of the low E. Okay, that's what you're going to do. Now, why are we doing that? Well, because we're just trying to get to know the chord and the techniques that we're going to need for each one of those parts. So for here, we're not really going to be putting our finger here. We're going to be using this part of the finger, so you could practice that as well. So what I'm doing here, look, my top part of my finger isn't even touching here, but the bottom part, that's realistically how you're going to hold an F chord. Whoops, sorry, I played that. Dear Lord, son. Been a while since I played a chord. So see what I'm doing here? That's what you got to do right there. So, so you could do this, but this is just kind of getting you used to the idea, and you will play chords like this. I do it all the time. Okay, that's a kind of small F chord there. So that's what you're going to practice. Another thing you can practice is just taking this bar and playing strings 1 and 2, and then try string. Kathy said, she got it, right? She got it. She's getting it. You know what this is? This is gosh, is there an equivalent to yoga? I love yoga. Yoga has changed my life. And is there equivalent to yoga? Kind of. This would be equivalent to Kathy when you're because Kathy's a yoga instructor, and you know it's that thing when people are like, I can't do that position. I can't do that position. And you're like, bro, you don't need to do that position. You just need to do the position you can. And the intention is to go in that direction, and then all of a sudden you kind of let go and the body just kind of starts doing its thing because you're using the right technique, because you're not forcing it, right? And in this here, I'm not forcing that. I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm allowing, but I am doing the right thing, right? In yoga, you can't do the wrong thing. You can not support yourself. You can throw your back out. You can do some stuff. But if you're doing it right, and then the body just kind of knows what it's doing. So that's kind of the same thing, same technique, a little bit here. Okay, so another thing you can do is you can just hold that hand on there and play strings 1 and 2, and then play strings 2 and 3. We're not in the chord anymore. We're just playing the bar. Now strings 3 and 4, and 4 and 5, 5 and 6. And you can kind of roll. You can kind of roll your hand like where the pressure is kind of like going across like this, because you're getting used to it. But what you want to be able to do is at least play 2 notes at a time. And then you want to do 3 notes at a time. And you pick them slowly so you can hear them all. Okay? And then you'll do 4 notes at a time. Okay? 4 notes at a time there, and then 5 notes. And then finally 6 notes. But, you know, where you are is where you are. So again, just like yoga, same thing. That's the one thing I learned is I saw all these people doing these things, and I'm like, well, I can't get in that position, man. And it's like anti-yoga. I was like getting mad and stuff. It's like, but if you just go, man, what can I do? Well, I can do 2 notes at a time. That's what I can do right now. Well, then that's what you can do. You'll get 3 notes, I promise you. It's impossible to practice this thing and not get better. Just impossible. Doesn't happen, okay? All right, let's get to some questions. I know some of you are probably running into some issues right now with this, so let's talk about it. And tell me specifics, okay? Tell me specifics what you got here, okay? Like what types of problems are you running into? Now, I see we have some how-to noises asking about a few chords. B flat minor 7/9. Okay, so let's talk about this for just a moment. Okay, for how-to noise. This is a great question. Well, I don't know. Is this a question? You're just posting it, but I'm assuming it's a question. So let's talk about this just for a second. This is going to be over some people's heads, but some of you are going to get it. And remember, we're all in different places, so let's not let's not worry if we don't get everything, because it doesn't work that way. Okay, doesn't work that way. Get what you can get. Let's keep moving forward. Okay, so how-to noise is asking for a B flat minor 7/9. Okay, so probably meaning a B flat minor 7/9 chord. Normally we wouldn't have like a slash there, but I think that's what you mean. So here's the deal. So first off, you got to locate the note B flat. There's a couple different ways we can do this, a couple different ways we can play it, but I'm going to play it here. And so a B flat chord. A B flat chord looks like this. Because it's an E major chord, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, also known as B flat, right? A sharp is B flat. You know, like the old song, A sharp is B flat. Come on, everybody sing along. There's no song like that. This is a B flat chord, right? It's a B flat minor 7. So really, we need to make it minor now, so we're going to lift this finger up. And I teach you this in the bar chords course that I'm giving you, right? In the Pay What You Can course, in the bundle there. So get that, follow that, and I give you a lot of these chords. I give you the minor chord. So that, where it says, you know, right here, we got B flat. See that minus symbol? So we pick the bass note is B flat. It's not B. It's not A, it's B flat, because flat means lower. And it's a B flat minor, so we know it's a minor chord. We know it has a 7 in it, and we know it has a 9 in it. So now we need to find the 9. And when, now this goes into some theory, you're not going to know about this yet, but essentially, when we say a 9, what we mean is a flat 9. And I can't get into the whys of why that is, essentially, but that's what we call, it's because there's something called a major 9, and then a major 7th, which is the 7th note from the major scale. So if I'm in a B flat, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's called the major 7. And so if you hear a major 7 chord, it sounds like this. And then so that's the major 7, because this is the 7th note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's called a major 7th interval. But when we say a 7, like a 7th chord, we really mean a flat 7, and you'd have to go pretty far down the rabbit hole to understand what the difference is. Why we don't call it a flat 7. It's because a flat 7 means something else yet. So just ignore the reason why right now, and just, here is a B flat minor 7, And now it's also saying there's a 9 in it. So what I do is I play the same scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need that note right there, which is a C. I can also find it right there. So what I can do is I can play that chord and play this note up at the top there, how to noise, and that's a B flat minor 7, 9 chord, okay? All right, good stuff. Now you said here an E flat 7, alt. Well, I don't know what alt is. Maybe an alternate way to play it, but that's not a common chord symbol. I don't know what that would mean, alt. So E flat, I mean, unless I'm just have never come across it in 45 years, but maybe so, but I doubt it. So here you do. You go E flat 7. Well, here's an E major. So in E flat, we'd have to drop the guitar half step, which we're not looking to do that right now. So let's come up to the A string and let's figure out that chord, all right? So there's a few different chords that we could use, a few different chord forms. I like this chord form. This is C major. This is C7. And if I move that up, C7, C sharp 7, D7, D sharp 7, E7. Then remember D sharp equals E flat, just like the old song. D sharp, E flat equal each other. That's not a song either. So here is E flat 7, because here was our E flat and we just took the C major chord and we moved it up. C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, and since we have that pinky there, that's our 7 chord. So that's an E flat 7 chord, okay? This is helpful, how to noise. So the fact that you're asking these, this is great. This is, I think, helping folks a little bit, right? So let's talk about an A flat minor 7. So again, let's find a note. Here's an A, an open F string, or an open 5 string. So we would have to detune the guitar down. So let's go to the low E. Here you can find most bar chords are going to be off of your 6th and 5th strings. That's the bass note it's going to be based off of. So let's build it. So let's go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, also known as A flat, like the old song, G sharp is A flat. Again, not a song. I'm just weird this morning. So here's A flat, all right, and here's A flat minor. Well, first off, here's A flat, major chord. If we lift this finger, as you're going to see in the bar chords course that I'm setting you guys up with, if we lift that finger up, now we make it minor. Now we have A flat minor. And again, remember that the 7, we are going to go, we're going to play through the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but then that's a major 7, so we want this guy. So now that's the note that we need to add to it, so now our chord is pretty cool, right? I think so. All right, let's see if there are some other questions. So Stafford saying, I have arthritis in my ring and pinky. Yeah, and you guys have seen my hands. I mean, they're jacked up. Look at my pinky. That's as straight as I can make it. And same thing with this finger. See how jacked up it is? My thumbs are, my nails are jacked up. And I've got arthritis in 5 of my fingers. In fact, so much so where it debilitated my knuckles to where they're deformed now. My arthritis, I say my arthritis. It's not my arthritis. Arthritis. I've had it, and it was way worse when I was like in my 20s. I was eating just what you eat when you're 20, all that stuff. Wasn't drinking or anything, but I was eating just terrible food. I was going to college and just eating whatever they had for me there. Jeez, man. And so it was just swelling up my knuckles, and I just had wicked arthritis and deformed those knuckles. I've also had 2 dog bites on this hand. 1, 40 stitches. My hands have been jacked up over the years, and arthritis is not very fun. But you can do what you can, right? All right, Frank is saying, I meant to say many of the people on here won't yet feel comfortable doing bar chords, but will want to learn. Yes, I'm in agreement. Hello, Rodney in Colorado. Good to see you, buddy. Gene in Tacoma, Washington. Power versus finesse. Absolutely, 100% true. You got it. Peggy's lost function of her index finger, including the tip of the finger, so I have to find alternative ways. Ah, yes, indeed. Okay, Kathy's getting it, love it. And my knees hurt is 100% right. Django Reinhardt had 2 working fingers. Tony Iommo chopped the tips of his fingers off. Never give up, absolutely. Django Reinhardt, one of my favorite, well, he is my favorite gypsy jazz player, and one of my favorite guitar players. And his wife was involved in a fire accident, and he saved her, but in doing so, he messed his hand up somehow really, really badly. And these 2 fingers got gnarled up. So he lost feeling or ability to move them or something like that. He really jacked his hand up. And he was I think at the time, he was a famous guitar player. And then he learned to just use these 2 fingers. And you can find video of this guy playing on YouTube, and it's fantastic. And you'll just see every now and then, so he only plays with 2 fingers. Every now and then he could eke up, I think, the pinky or the 3rd finger every now and then for a chord when he needed it. But for the most part, he had to kind of like throw it over, you know, not with the other hand, but he'd kind of get it up there and it would work. But for the most part, he played everything with 2 fingers. And when that guy would go through scales, he was like so fast, so amazing. Arpeggios, everything else. Like, the guy's just phenomenal. So look him up. And I think you might even have got the spelling right there, Django. That's my knees. That's amazing. Play an E-flat diminished chord. Okay, so let's talk about it. So a diminished chord is a minor chord. It's a minor chord with a flat 5. So if we play, let me just tell you a little bit of theory here real quick. If we play the scale, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If we skip notes within the scale, we get harmony. So instead of playing a 1 and a 2 at the same time, I'll play a 1 and a 3. So it's like you skip 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And that gives you harmony, or at least harmony. It's all harmony. Any 2 notes at once is harmony, but it will give you harmony that sounds good, okay? So, or that sounds very pleasing to the ear. So if I do that, if I play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like go up the scale, but in addition to that, I'll play a note that's 2 notes above it instead of 1 note above it, then we get harmony like this. Okay? This is a major interval. This is a minor interval for a minor chord. Minor interval. And notice what my hands are doing. They're right now, the fingers are 1 fret apart. Right here, they're 2 fret apart. That's a minor interval. Minor, major, major, minor, diminished, but it's still a minor interval and then a major interval. Okay. Now, we also, if we add another note, so a 1, a 3, and a 5 of the scale, that's called a triad. 3 notes make up a triad, and we have the triads that naturally occur are major, minor, and diminished. We also have augmented. We can create other triads as well, but the main ones are major and minor, and every now and then you see an augmented. When you're talking about a major scale, you have 3 majors, 3 minors, and 1 diminished chord. Okay, and the difference is this. The next note that's up, so bum, 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 that note is in the same place every single time for all 6 chords except for the diminished chord. It's flatted. So let me show you. This is like if I were holding it like this. And then the minor chord is. Now notice the shape of my hand, because when we get to that diminished chord, it's going to make sense. Here's another minor chord. Here's a major chord. Notice this guy's been the same place every single time, right? That's a minor. But now watch what happens to my pinky right here. It's all the way back there. It's not here. And that's what makes it diminished. It means that the 5 is down a half step. So I know that's over a lot of people's heads, but all that being said, this is how to noise asked how to play an E flat diminished chord. So I wanted to give you a little bit of theory about that. So let's talk about it. So first, let's find an E flat. So again, low E, we'd have to detune the guitar. We don't want to do that. So let's take the A string, let's go up. Let's say A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D sharp, E, or E flat, right? D sharp equals E flat, same thing. So we wouldn't build a diminished chord now. So here is a minor third, and then here's a minor third on top of it. And so that's how to play. Technically, that's one way to play a diminished chord. But diminished is interesting because it just works out the same, that if you just skip 2 notes, every 2 notes, you get a diminished sound. And so diminished chords are cool because you can play any combination of them. That's a diminished chord. That's a diminished chord. That's a diminished chord. I mean, and those are all E flat diminished chords, but there's so many different ways to do it. This is why if you understand how to construct chords, which is the way, you know, at first, you've probably read into this too, where you go, how am I going to memorize thousands of chords or tens of thousands of chords? That's just crazy, right? Well, if you understand how to construct them, then you don't have to, you know, it's kind of like thinking that you would have to memorize a bunch of books if you were a kid. You know, it's like, well, no, you don't memorize them, you just read them when you want to, and then you get to relive what's happening in the story every single time. So same thing here, you can just build chords on the fly or adapt chords on the fly. I've been playing lots of ukulele lately, and I don't just grab for certain chords on it like I do the guitar, because I'm so used to playing guitar. So I have to think more, and I love that. So it'll be like, okay, F sharp minor 7, and I'm like, F sharp minor, okay, there's the F sharp, here's the F sharp minor, here's the F sharp minor 7, which the ukulele only has 4 strings, so you don't get all the voices like you would in a 6-string or more guitar, but you can do some really cool things with it. But I still have to keep on my toes when I'm doing it, okay? Clog is saying, I started learning bar chords at the 5th and 7th frets. Felt a lot easier to me anyway. Absolutely. And let me show you a trick here. For those that are having issues, please, please, please do this, because this will absolutely help a ton, okay? So if you do the whole thing that I showed you, 2 notes at a time, then 3 notes, then 4 notes, then 5 notes. Do that. But take the capo and put it, if you have a capo, put it, say, like on the 4th fret or the 5th fret, something like that, and do the same thing. And you'll find that because the capo is on here and it's pressing the strings down, it's so much easier to press down. I mean, it's so much easier. And you might say, well, that's a crutch. Look, in yoga, we use blocks, and we use different things to kind of support us because we can't get all the way down in a particular position. And that block, what it does is it allows you to rest into this position without having to break your back or flex your hip in a way that hurts or something like that. And it gets you just to lean into that area, and the block helps. And eventually the block goes away and you don't need it, and you're increasing your range and everything else. And this is the same thing, but it's really encouraging. Instead of being like, I can't do the position. It's not either, it's not on or off. It's not binary like that, right? It's just there. It takes some time to get there, okay? So if you think about it like, I'm not a bar chord player. Well, yeah, you are. Everybody's a bar chord player. It's just you may not be as good as the next guy, and that just is practice, because there's always somebody better than him, and there's always somebody worse than you. So don't be in that competition mode, okay? It's not about that. It's just about feeling. You want to feel good doing this. You want to be like, yeah, I'm moving forward. This is awesome, right? Make sense? Okay, good. All right, so okay, I'm having problems with voicings. Tell me what you mean by that. I'm having problems with voicings. I know what you mean by voicings. Voicings are just like how we, how we play the chords. So like if I want to play a C chord here, that's one voicing. Here's another voicing. Here's another voicing, and another, and another, and another. These are all C chords, but they're all different voicings, okay? So yeah, let me know specifically what you mean more by that. Carol's saying, position of the index finger and thumb is more important than the strength. Absolutely. I have older fingers and still can play the F chord, so you can get it too. Beautiful. Thank you, Carol. You know, testimony, man. They brought down the beast with the words of their testimony. So it's like the beast. What's the beast, man? The beast is any obstacle that's in your way, man. It's any, it's a lot of things. That's an old scripture right there. That's a true one, though. And because people hear that and they go, well, if Carol can do it, I bet I can do it. And the more you hear that someone can do something, the more you're like, oh, I can do it, right? Roger Bannister, 1940s, I think he was, ran the 4-minute mile, and it was believed before he ran it that if you run the 4-minute mile, your heart will explode. Like there was all these like myths, like because no one had done it, so that people just believed, well, you would die or something like that. And he's like, you're not going to die, like. It's a hard thing to do, and I'm going to do it. And so he did it. And that same year, right after he did it, like a bunch of people did it also. No one had done it up until that point, or at least in history, right, that was recorded. And then right after he does it, all these other people do it. Why? Because he broke their paradigm. I flippin' love that story, because when people are stuck in this, I can't, you know, it's like it's not true. It's just like you're literally telling yourself something to where you don't, you know, you're not going to be able to do it. And that's a perfect example right there. You know what I mean? Okay, good. Okay, so how-to noise. You're just kind of throwing some numbers out there now, so I need to know specifically what you mean. So like a minor chord's a minor chord, right? You take any major chord. And you take the third of the chord. Remember how we did the 1 and the 3, the 5, the 7, the 9, and the 11? You take the 3 of the chord, which you may not know what that is at first, but once you do know, you know how you play E major and then you play an E minor, or you play an A major and you play an A minor, or you play a D major and a D minor? That one note that moves in those chords, that's the third. And it goes from major third to a minor third. The 1 and the 5 stay the same. Here's an A major chord. Here's an A minor chord. The 1 and the 5 stay the same. The only note that's moving is the 3. So that's how you make something minor or major. But you have to know what the third is. This is the 3. And that makes it minor. The other notes are 1s and 5s. They stay the same. To make a minor 7th, we play through the scale. It's a, you know, a major chord. We make it minor. And then we add that flat 7 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat 7. You know? If it were a B flat 7, 9, which we talked about that one, there's a B flat minor, or B flat minor 7, because this was an A minor 7. We're just going to bump it up a half step, and then we're going to add that 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a C, or sorry, you got the C major chord. I'm just reading your comments here. A natural 9, we just added the 9, and we got the minor 7, B7, yeah. Okay, good stuff, all right? All right, so flat 5, yes. Martian Murray, a flat 5 is, you know, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you flat that note, and that's called the flat 5, and that's, if we build chords off of that. That's diminished. Okay, Deep Patel is saying, sir, I was trying to do bar chords with a G shape. Is it way too hard? Deep, I love your perseverance that you're going to try to do this chord right here. That's not an easy chord, and I never play this chord. I mean, I can play it, but you know what Deep is saying here is that, right, take a G major chord like this. But if you're going to bar it, you got to free up that first finger because it's got to be something to bar. So he's saying, can you do this? Can you play the chord like this? And you can, but man, it's a challenge. And guess what? Even though I can do it, it's a great like exercise, I suppose, but I would never and have never used that chord in a song, and I wouldn't, because I would have to I'd have to hold my guitar at a really weird angle to get it. And why, when I could play that? Or where was I? All right, so if I was, or this, but I would never play that form. I'd play this one, maybe play this one, but probably not. So there's a few forms that I would go to all the time. That's a great question. Beautiful. Okay, I could do a barred F earlier in my guitar life, but I was left-handed, horsewoman, and that may have helped my strength. Oh, I bet, right? Because you're always got the reins and holding on to that rope. I bet, man. I bet your hand was super strong because of that. My guitar teacher said my hand was surprisingly strong. I was about 14. That's so fun. G flat, right? Right below the G. Here's a G. That's a G flat. G sharp is A flat. Yep. Sounds like they might be Giants tune, yeah. Iran is asking, can you talk about bucket head type of chicken picking? I have some videos on chicken picking, and I can give you the basics of it. I'm not very good at it, but chicken picking is the idea of picking with a guitar pick and using your other fingers to fret, or I'm sorry, to pick. So you're doing like this sort of thing. You know, or you could, I mean, I guess you could, I could do this like this, but this would be finger picking. Still chicken picking. But I could do that with a pick too. So you're using a pick, but then you're also doing hybrid picking. I probably won't get too much deeper into that than that, because honestly, I'm probably not the guy to show you chicken picking. I mean, I have videos on it in my program, but there are much better chicken pickers than myself. Show what you're counting up to the 7 slowly, please. I'm getting the wrong note. Okay, so let's do this, Christine. Beautiful. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so here's the deal. If we're starting, let's say, on a G, right? I'm sorry, on an A. You're playing through the scale, whether we're playing linearly or across the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but that's a major 7. Okay, and then back to 1. This is a major 7, and that's great for a major 7 chord. When people say a major 7 chord, the major is related to the interval. Okay, that goes over your head. Don't worry about it. It's stuff you can study later. Intervals are things you can study later. That's a major 7 interval, and so it has that sound. A minor 7 interval is right there. It's a flatted 7. So like when you count through the scale, you know, this is a 1, this is a minor 2, this is a 2, this is a minor 3, this is a 3, this is a perfect 4th, this is a flat 5, also known as a sharp 4, also known as a tritone, also known as the blue note in blues, perfect 5, minor 6, major 6, minor 7, remember we were down here, minor 7, major 7, and then back to the 1. So we were playing through the scale would be 1, major 2, major 3, perfect 4, perfect 5, major 6, major 7, and back to 1. Easy enough. The 4 and the 5 are perfect. And the other notes are major intervals. Major, just a 1, also known as unison, major 2, major 3, perfect 4, perfect 5, major 6, major 7. Don't worry about the names, okay? Just understand like what that means in regards to playing. So if I wanted a major third, if I want a minor third, I go a half step below. Here's a major 2. If I wanted a minor 2, I just go a half step below. If I wanted a minor 6, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know that's a major 6. It's the major scale. So that's a flat 6, or also known as a minor 6. Or if we wanted a minor 7, we go 1, or flat 7. You can call it either, but there are reasons why we might call it one thing over another later on in chordal theory. We're not going to get into that today. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, major 7. That's the minor 7 interval. So we have intervals and we have chords. And don't confuse the two, because a seventh, well, I'm going to confuse you there if I say that, but you know, it's nothing that, don't be overwhelmed by this stuff. Trust me, I didn't know it at first, and it took some time, okay? Wendy Ace, so good to see you. Stiv is saying, it took some time to get the F and F chord, but it opens up new worlds, plus the endorphin buzz. Absolutely, yes. Okay, good, okay. Agree, never ever give up. Beautiful. Diatonic thirds, yeah, that's what we're playing here when we're playing. I'm sorry, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and or minor interval, and major. And those are just the intervals. So an interval is the distance between two notes. Anytime you say an interval, it's the distance between two notes. It's not a chord. It's kind of the baby of a chord. It's like the makings of a chord. So if you throw in two intervals, then you get a chord. Chord is technically 3 or more notes. So you can have a, so for the diminished chord, the third is minor. So because it's different than the chord. There's more information there, basically. Okay. Okay, can you cover a chord progression, a 1, 4, or a 1, 5, 6, 4? And so whenever you see, so you see how the 4 there is, you know, those are obviously Roman numerals. The 1, 5, and the 4 are capitalized, right? And the 6 is lowercase. What that means is, it means that the lowercase one is minor. And this is just another way of doing it. This is like a classical way of doing it. They use these Roman numerals. So that chord progression there, a 1, 5, minor 6, 4 is a classic chord progression. So if we were in the key of C, you know, check this out. So what it means is, we're going to play through the scale. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all the notes we need, because the chord progression is a 1, 5, minor 6, 4. So our one chord is going to be based off of that. It's going to be major, C. Then there's a 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a G. So it'll be a G major. And then we have a minor 6. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an A, so an A minor. And then we have major 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an F. So that's going to be our other chord. So for instance, in the key of C major, we're going to have a 1, a 5, a 6 minor, and a 4. And that's just like a really classic chord progression right there, okay? All right, now, here's the deal. When I do stuff like this, I know some of you are like, well, I don't know what he's talking about. And then other of you are like, I kind of get it. And others of you are like, yeah, I get it. So wherever you're at in there, if you are kind of like, I kind of get it, but could you explain this more? Tell me, ask me, because I want to get you there. And like you're hearing this stuff, and if it's kind of sparking something in you, we just need to pull the thread and get you to the other side. And if you really don't know what I'm talking about, ask that question and I'll tell you, because you know, I got to bump you. We're bumping you over to get and understand this stuff more and more, right? Okay, good. All right, Holger's saying, it took me a long time to get the bar chords working. Wouldn't it be easier for beginners to just learn bar chords at first and afterwards the open chords? Just put the index finger behind the nut? Well, Holger, from a German guy to a German guy, yeah, sure, that's how Germans think, right? We're like, you just do it. You just do it. My father had a really thick German accent, and I freaking loved it. It was from Berlin. But yeah, sure. But here's the deal, is that it discourages people. And so this is what I've found after teaching people for years and years and years, is that if you can keep them excited about it, if you can keep them, which is like everything in life, right? If you want your kid to be good in school, you got to make it fun for them. And so, like, I would always do this for my students, and I would, if they were getting frustrated with something, we would do it, we would practice it, but we'd practice it in a way where they could feel the progression. And if you started off with bar chords and you thought, well, this is what you have to do in order to play guitar, it's going to discourage a bunch of people. I know that from starting people off with real simple stuff, you know what I mean? How-to noise. Okay, you maybe if you can, I'm seeing like a lot of like chords and stuff like that, but maybe form it in like in a question so I know it's specifically what you want me to ask or answer there, okay, buddy? Okay, the 5th string root major bar chord, example, B major, mostly commonly played with double bar and muted 1st string. Are you asking 5th string root major bar chord, example, B major, but mostly played with a double bar and muted with the 1st string? Yep, that's how I do it. So like this right here, double bar. So he's talking about double bar, meaning he's barring the 1st finger and also barring this 3rd finger here. And now look what this wacky thing I'm doing with my knuckle. I'm pressing down strings 4, 3, and 2 so that I can eke out that 1st note, right? And I have my 1st finger barred. This is probably the trickiest bar chord right there. The trickiest, it's not the hardest, but well, sure, it's difficult because you got to do that little hyperextended ring finger here. Now, most people, and myself included, I don't do that. I kind of play it a little lazier, and I do this, and then that note gets muted. I don't play. If I was finger picking and I wanted that note to come out, I might, but normally I don't even play. A lot of times I don't play the high E string when I'm playing chords. I find that it's in a register that gets in the way of the singer and stuff like that, so I just don't do it a lot of times. Yeah, absolutely. Johnny Highland is an absolute beast. In fact, Johnny Highland and I were going to do a course together right before he moved from Nashville to Virginia now. He's a swell guy, and we were ready to go, and he ended up moving pretty quickly, and he's like, yeah, man, let's do one. Just come to Virginia. And I'm like, I'm not coming to Virginia. But anyhow, yeah, Danny Gatton, what a beast, right? Brett Mason, beast. Hybrid picking it, exactly. Yeah, he does. He has some great videos on that. A major 7 intervals are awesome. Yeah, A major 7. So A major 7, right? Same thing. We just add that 7th interval to an A major chord. So if this is our A major chord right here, then we add an A major 7th interval to it. Because remember, if someone says play an A chord, we know to play A major. We know not A minor. We don't have to ask A minor. When we say just the name of the chord, the letter name, boom, we get that chord. And in this case here, we get A major. Hey, play an A chord. Oh, okay, here you go. Hey, play A major, or play A. No, that's A minor. Play an A. Oh. Okay, so play an A. If someone says play an A chord, they mean play a major A chord. Okay, so you got that. So the major 7 part of it there means the interval. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to say major 7, right? So the major 7 is the interval. So that means if I play the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and remember we said that all those intervals, except for the perfect ones, are major, so this is the interval we want to add to that chord. So in that case, I need to add that, and so I kind of have to form my hands a little bit differently, but I get that chord, or if I want to get fancy with it. Make sense? Okay. All right, what is the best scale to learn first? Peggy's saying, that's a great question. The best scale to learn first is the major scale, because every other scale is a derivative of that. The pentatonic scale, the minor scale, all the modes in every single key. Learn the major scale because it's literally everything that you need to know in regards to building chords, like, you know, extensions, 7, 9, 11, 13, sharp 13, whatever. It's all based off of this, the major scale. It is the king. Okay, dyad are 2 notes. Yep, exactly. Dyad, 2 notes. And I think it's D-I-A-Y-A-D, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. I know triad is T-R-I, so dyad? Yeah, I think so. My knees hurt. I learned the major scale in the key of C. All other scales are based off the major scale. Yep, you have got it correct, sir. How does a scale work in relation to modes? Are they different? See, Peggy, I love you asking these questions. Good for you. Peggy, yes. How does a scale work in relations to modes? Beautiful question. Let's talk about it, okay? So, a lot of people think that modes are the promised land, or thinking that's going to get them someplace that it usually doesn't take them. Modes are derivatives of the major scale. This is the A major, or let's say this is G major scale. The G major scale has the same notes as the A Dorian scale. But it still sounds like the G major scale, right? We have Lydian, Mixolydian, Locrian, we got Aeolian, we got all these different sounds. So I think it's Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Okay, I think it's in that order. So we have Ionian. If I play the scale from 1 to 1, we get a G major scale, also known as the G Ionian scale. If we play from the second scale step, or then we have the A Dorian scale, okay, and then we can keep going. So if you notice, Peggy, basically the major scale has modes built into it. So kind of like if you know how if you play G major, the equivalent minor would be E minor, and all the chords and the notes and all would be the same. Or if you're playing piano, all the white keys are C major, but if you wanted to play in minor, you'd play all the white keys, but you'd gravitate more towards the A minor chord, right? So in that same way, you can think, if you understand that concept, then you understand modes, because G major is also known as G Ionian, and A minor is also known as A Aeolian. Doesn't matter the name so much, but understand that, like, they sound the same, but the feel is different, right? Meaning they have the same notes, they have the same sets of chords. If you had a song that was in A minor or a song that's in C major, they would share, diatonically speaking, the same natural chords and melodies, or the same natural chords and notes, okay, by name. No sharps or flats, A, B, C, D, E, F, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B. No sharps or flats. And because of that, they're related. And so you can think, if you get that concept of that relationship, right, that the notes are the same, but I could have a song here. Look, if I play a song, C, G, A minor, and F, okay? This was our example before, right? C, G, A minor, F. That sounds happy. Now, if I play A minor, that's definitely not a C major. It's more an A minor. But I didn't play any new notes. I'm playing A minor and F major. I didn't play the G or the C, but still, I stayed within the confines of all the white keys on the piano. So if you understand that relationship, then just understand there's 5 other relationships like that, and those are the modes. That being said, 99.9% of all the music out there has a tonal center that's either major or minor. They don't really have tonal centers, that other like 0.1% of the songs in the ether, right, on the radio, on everything. Another 0.1%, and I don't know what the actual number is, but it's very, very small. Those other notes then are represented by, or those other songs are represented by modes, but it's so like so far and few between, because they just don't really sound good from being a tonal center. Okay, you can dork around with them a little bit, and it's kind of like adding a spice, but it'd be equivalent to this. Here's the equivalent. Everybody likes hot peppers, right? I do. I like Tabasco sauce, and I like pepper, and I like garlic, and I like things like that, right? And that's great for like spices, for like to accentuate the meal. But could you imagine sitting down to a pound? I mean, when I eat a pound, 2 pounds of food. I mean, I eat a lot of food. I can't imagine sitting down to 2 pounds of garlic or 2 pounds of pepper, of hot pepper, right? It's not the meal, it's the spice. And so if you think about modes in the same way, it's more of like a spice that you can add to your playing to bring in a note or two here and there to add to the variety of the passages and the things that you're saying on the instrument, but it's not the main event. And so a lot of people, I think that's the problem, is they think that it's the main event somehow, and it's not. Let me know if that helps, Peggy. Okay, Frank is saying, learning how to read the circle of fifths, that helped me learn the notes relationships. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Modes are from the major scale. The major scale is a mode. The Ionian mode is equal to major. Beautiful. Do not let it overwhelm you. Good job, my knees. You got it. Exactly. My knees, I got to go do adult things now. Have a great day, everyone. Never give up. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Rick is saying, I had to strengthen my index finger with exercises to get the bar to work. Absolutely. That's totally fine. Look, we're not used to doing those movements. So, you know, when we pick things up, we palm them. You know, if I pick a hammer up, it goes into the web of my hand here, right? I don't have to be real strong. When we're playing guitar, we're doing this weird, like we got a flipper or something, right? Or like we got a crab claw. We don't do this ever. We do this. We pick things up like this. And so because of that, we're able to hold on to things tightly. But if we're doing this, and these are the things that we're holding, it's like we got little clamps, and that takes some time, okay? There are so many shapes to play the major scale. Should I memorize all the ways or stick to one? Deep Patel, I love your question. Here's the deal. Ultimately, it's good to just understand that you can go to these different places. What Deep's talking about is like, you know, you take G major, for example, right? You could play linearly. You could play across like this in open position. You could play in the second position. I could play in the third position. I could play in the slide into the fifth position. So many different ways to play it. So what happens is if you learn all your different mode forms, or we could say the major scale and all of its different forms, where you're just starting on, you know, playing from the 1 to the 1, and then from the 2 to the 2, and then the 3 to the 3, 4 to the 4, 5 to the 5, 6 to the 6, 7 to the 7, and then back to the 1 to the 1. Now what I'm doing is I'm just taking this scale. 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. And so all of those modes, you have G major and G Ionian major, you got the A Dorian. Like, technically we're still, if we played a G chord progression behind that, it's only G major, right? Where it starts becoming kind of a modal sound is when we start playing a different something underneath it. So for example, if I did like, okay, yesterday we had this cool little chord progression, right? Let me see if I can play this here. We have this cool little chord progression, and so if I'll use it because we're there. And I could, because we're in the key of E minor, which is the equivalent G major. So this is perfect, actually. The chord progression I did yesterday, a fun little thing we did with the looper, was in the key of E minor. The chords are E minor, D, C, D. And so we're in the key of E minor, but remember, E minor is the related minor to G major. Every major key has a related minor key. Every minor key has a related major key. Sing with me, right? So what that just means is those two keys share the same sets of notes and the same sets of chords. But just like you, who wakes up one morning and are in a good mood and another morning are in a little bit of piss mood, right? That is the same you, but someone might say that you're feeling differently, right? So if you play those chords and those melodies differently, then they'll gravitate more towards a more minor sound as opposed to a more major sound, just like I showed you, right? So in this case here, we have the key of E minor, which is the 6th scale degree of G major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an E. There's the low E, or I could go walk it down. 1, 7, 6. So I can still use all the same formations. So I can play all the forms of G major all the way up the neck. We could call it A Dorian and all these things, but really it's just G major because that's what's happening in the background, or in this case, E minor. And so I could play any of these different forms. Okay, so I could do that, but now if I took now watch this, I'm going to use the Dorian mode, the A Dorian mode, which is really just more of the G major, right? But if I play it with the background of G major or E minor, then it's just going to sound like G major, nothing different, right? Now, where it gets different is when I go, so now I'm going to do something like a, let me just go, so now if I play Dorian over this is an A minor chord. Now I got the backgrounds different. So now if I play that A Dorian, also known as the G major and the E minor Aeolian, it's all the same notes, which just different names, and kind of like how are you using it, right? I could use a hammer and I can hammer things in, but if I use it on the pry bar, yeah, I'm using a hammer, but I'm prying now. I'm doing something different. So that's kind of like what we're doing here. So if I play that E minor 7 chord, then, and I play this over the top of it, now my tonal center is an A, and now I really am playing modally. So now it's gonna just sound different. So it really depends on what's happening in the background. Hopefully that drives that note a little bit more home. I think Peggy had originally asked that one, right? I think so. Okay, good, good. All right, if you're just joining us, friends, make sure you get a hold of that bundle. Look around the page, description of the video, all that good stuff. Also, we have our new tip jar up there to the upper left-hand corner. If anybody feels so inclined to support the cause, we appreciate it. Okay, so Deep. Deep was asking about should you learn all those different forms? In time, you will, but don't be obsessed about it. Do not be obsessed about it. Okay, what's the difference between hybrid and chicken picking? It's the same, essentially. But the difference, I guess chicken picking is more like you're kind of what we call spanking the plank. You're kind of doing this like a, which is a terrible tone to use for this. You're kind of pulling the strings up and let them smack up against the neck. That's usually what we refer to as chicken picking. And it also is usually related to country music, okay? Any cool voicings for an A minor 7? I love the A minor 7 chord. So like for me, I love that one. It's the open position. So you're holding an A minor, but you lift the ring finger. I love that one. This one, obviously. Used that one before. But my favorite is this guy right there. The upper register, you could do something like this. Actually, yeah, that's not a favorite though. It's just one, you know. I like that one. So this is at the 10th fret. Got my 3rd and 4th finger at the 12th fret of strings 5 and 3, and then I'm going to bar strings 4 and 2. I like that one. It's kind of fun. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Or sister, whoever. Yeah, thank you, my friend. I don't play loud music at lunch. That's how I remember the mode names. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. Aeolian, Locrian. Very good. I'll have to remember that, because sometimes I get them mixed up. I don't use them. I know them. I can do them in all keys and all that, but you know. And exactly, modes means moods. That's exactly what that means. And because each one of them has kind of like a different bit, you know. Would you say modes are used to play leads? Not very often, they're not. Yngwie Malmsteen uses the Phrygian a lot. He says he uses the Phrygian a lot. I'm hearing harmonic minor, but maybe, I don't know. I'm hearing harmonic minor like all the time. Harmonic minor and diminished is what I hear him do, and then some blues. But he says he's using Phrygian. I haven't tried to break it down or anything. Modes are used oftentimes in jazz. And by the way, I'm not challenging Yngwie at all. That guy's an insane player. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But I've just never analyzed it that way, so I don't know. Would you say modes are used to play leads? In jazz, I would say, but not all the time. Mainly they're playing, you know, they're using notes, and I don't even know if they're thinking so much modes as they're thinking, okay, this chord is colored this way, and so I'm going to add that note. In fact, I saw a fantastic jazz player. I remember this many years ago. I watched this guy play. This was in Nashville, and it was a little place called Satco, San Antonio Taco Company, across the street from Vanderbilt, if you know this area. And down in the basement, the very first gig that the first real gig that I ever did was down in that basement, and we were the first people that they ever had at that venue, which is pretty cool. And so we played that gig, but many, many years later, I was at that same place, and I was watching this Vanderbilt band, these guys, jazz, and he was doing some really cool stuff. The guitar player was, and I came up to him afterwards, and I was asking him some technical things like, hey, what were you thinking when this chord played? And, you know, like, what mode were you thinking? And that sort of thing. He's like, oh, I don't know any modes. And I'm like, what? You don't know any modes? Because he was playing modally. And he says, no, I just take the chord, and then I play some of the notes in the chord, and I work around that along with some of the other things that I know. So he's ending up at the same result, but he's really just using his ear. And you know, the reason that you can use modes a lot more in jazz than you can in regular pop music is because the chords are altered in such a way in jazz, at least it's the way that I've understood it over the years, is that they're altered in such a way that those modes will work into it. And what this guy was doing wasn't thinking the mode, he was thinking, okay, well, how is that chord embellished? Well, I'm just going to play that note here while I do the solo. You know, does that make sense? Okay. Excellent lesson. Thanks, my friend. Beautiful. Okay, where are you guys at, question-wise? You guys have really brought the questions today. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love to be able to get into that and really be, you know, get the questions answered for you guys. Yeah, you know, bar chords are awesome because they really allow you to do some cool I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without the bar chords, right? Oh, sorry. Just majors and minors, minor sevenths, a few sevenths in there, a diminished chord right there. Minor 7, dominant 7th, major. So lots of fun things that you can do with the bar chords. So you gotta learn some bar chords. All right, where else are you guys having issues? Tell me about it, man. What are you having problems with? Are you having problems with theory? Is there some sort of theoretical thing that you guys can't connect where you're like, well, how does this work? You know? And how-to noise, you've got a lot of good questions there, but if you could formulate them a little bit, maybe in a question, then maybe I can get you somewhere here. But it sounds like you got some good knowledge of some different things here. So let me know how I can help, okay? Yeah, theory-wise, technique-wise, navigating the course-wise, I mean, you know, I'm hooking you guys up with, hold on, let me do something here. I'm hooking you guys up with a lot of really cool stuff. So one of the things that I'm hooking you up with, hold on, let me do something here. Boom. Okay, so I got that. Let me do this. Okay, so if I do this and I bring you over here, I'm on the wrong tab. I'm on the wrong tab there too. Well, shoot fire, son. I had the right thing. Okay. Well. Okay. It don't matter. All right. What I was going to do is I was going to show you where you can get the bar chord stuff in the course there. But you got it. You've got this course, and you've got all the mini courses and everything else. So, you know, start digging in there and tell me what it is that you guys have questions on. Okay, so theory, technique, chords, how to formulate chords. You know, when I think about chords, do you guys know how to build the chords? That's a really important thing, just learning like some basic math, like some basic musical math, like knowing that a major chord is a 1, 3, 5 of the major scale. Well, that's easy enough. Then if I know where the 1 is, I can find the major 3 by just playing the scale to the 3, and then if I want to find what the perfect 5th is, I play to the 5th, and then I add that note. So at any point, if somebody says, play, like let me show you this. If you know if you know these 4 notes on the guitar, you can play major scales all over the neck, off of any single note. Meaning you instantly will be able to play, oh gosh, I don't know, like, if you're ingenuitive enough, hundreds of chords just by knowing this one thing. So, or hundreds of different forms. So if I play the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I only need the 1, the 3, and the 5. That's all I need. And if I add those up and play them across 3 strings, I get my major triad. So I can do this for off of any chord. If I want to say the G, here I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all I need. I 1, the 3, and the 5. So 1, 3, 5. And I can take that and just move it up the fretboard. Now I can play it, you know, as many frets as I have. I just move it up the fretboard. Same thing if I want to play it off the 5th string. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Now I can play that all the way across the fretboard. I want to do right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Now I move that up the fretboard and I got 12 more iterations of that. Same thing with this. Oh, did I do the second? Now the tuning of the guitar is different on the B string, so you have to compensate. So you have to move that up a half step. So instead of this form, I have to shift. So, but I still have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 3, 5. So there's my chord forms there. And you might notice these starting to show up in some of your other chords, which is off of the A major form. All right? So many different ways to do this. And what I used to do is I used to just sit with my guitar and do this, like build triad, major triads, minor triads, diminished triads. And I would do it all over the neck. Now I play 1, 3, 5, and then I play 3, 5, 1, and then I play 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, whatever, like all the different combinations and all the different things. And then you would go, well, that one's useful, well, that one's not useful, well, that one sounds great, but that one's hard to play, you know, and you figure out what it is. And in the meanwhile, you're really learning the neck and you're just learning all sorts of cool things about music, okay? It's so fun. It's just a big old rabbit hole to go down, right? Okay, what else, technique-wise? We also, by the way, I also have my pedal board here today, so if we need to talk about that, we can talk about, and I even put on shoes for Mike today, because Mike gets freaked out over the bare feet. So I put on shoes for Mike today. Can you demonstrate a walk-down form with bar chord? So, yeah, when it comes to bar chords, you know, remember that bar chords are really just a way to play chords. So really, in order for us to demonstrate a walk down with bar chords, we would really need to be able to know what's happening just musically, all right? So some common walk downs would be like going from a 1 chord to a 6 minor. So if we did like this, you know, C major to A minor, and back up. Or we could go from a G to an E minor, same thing. And vice versa. Those are some of the more common movements, okay? And that's a 1 to a minor 6, where it could be, you know, it depends on the key that you're in. So, but let's just, let's take this and let's move it up the neck. So let's say if I was doing this at, let's say an F, okay? So, you know, this is my C chord. And if you ever want to play any of these chords as a bar chord, then you just have to free up the first finger, because the first finger needs to take, it needs to take over for the capo, right? Or for the nut. So here, I'm going to move this to an F. So I have an F chord there. If I want to walk that down like I did before, so I'm playing like a A minor 7, but I'm playing kind of a starting from the 5th. And there's my A minor chord, or my, in this case, a D minor, and then back up. And I'm barring that whole bottom section there, but I'm only playing strings 2, 3, 4 for the bar. That's going to be my finger down here on the fifth string. So, and then back up. If I was doing this, let's see. Would I play that? No, because I got that open note there. So I probably wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't walk that down. Honestly, I don't know if I walk many bar chords down, but you can, I mean, technically. Now you could, if you're going from a 1 chord to a 2 minor chord, you can throw in a diminished chord. It's the old right, it's the old Happy Trails, whatever. That's the beginning of it. So it's a major, G major, there's an A flat or G sharp diminished, and then a A minor 7, and then a D7. Get it? Cool. All right. All right, Peggy's saying, Eric, thank you so much for answering my questions. I get confused with so much information floating in my head and how to use that information to see, feel progress. Appreciate you kindly, Peggy. Thank you so much, Peggy. So let's think about this for just a moment, because I'm with you. And it's all of us. It's not just you. It's everybody. And it's with everything, because, dear Lord, the amount of information that's hitting us in social media and on the news and this and that and the other thing, it's happening so fast. And our heads are just not prepared for it. We were never, never in the history of ever have we gotten that sort of information. So it's really weird. And in fact, it feels foreign. And in fact, I've been turning a lot of it off lately. I've been just going inward and listening to myself, because I got enough information. I don't need more information per se. I do want little things here and there, like how do I get this app, or how do I do this thing very quickly? I don't want to spend a bunch of time wasting, but if I'm just like, but I don't go to it for entertainment as much anymore. But all that being said, Peggy, I'm a big fan of Pareto's rule. Don't worry about all the stuff floating around in your head. Worry about the stuff that's right now, the stuff that you need to know right now. So if you're like, man, I got this gig coming up, it's got some bar chords, now study bar chords, because the way our brain works is when it needs something, there's something called the reticular activating system, or the RAS, the RAS, and that thing gets activated. And it's a part of your brain that when you need something or you want something, now all of a sudden that part of your brain is super active and it's always looking for resources and solutions. So I find that I learn way better if I have this like passion, this desire, or this need, right? If let's say you're a billionaire and somebody says, hey, you can do this thing and you can make $1 million. Well, if you're a billionaire, you may not need $1 million, and they're like, you can do this thing, but you just have to come up with an idea. You're probably, unless you're just a typically resourceful person, or you really like building businesses or something, you probably won't, your brain or your RAS is not going to be activated to need to do a particular thing. You got enough money and you're like, I'd just be doing it for money anyhow, so it's going to be lazy. It's not going to do it. But let's say somebody says, your family needs to eat, and you need to figure out how to work this app or how to work this job in 2 days. All of a sudden, your reticular activating system is going to be super resourceful, and you're going to be figuring out the best, quickest way to get this thing taken care of so you can take care of the basic job. That's because that need is so strong. Then all of a sudden, your brain is absorbing massively, okay? And if you learn this way, don't worry about all the noise. Turn it off. You will do so much better doing this, okay? Okay, Kathy's saying, I can't for the life of me hold a pick. Halfway through a song, I have to toss it. I do tend to do a lot of percussion on the guitar, and I can't seem to blend the two. Do you have any ideas how? Yeah, so there's a few things that you can do, Kathy. One is I'd get yourself a bunch of different picks. One of the kinds of picks that I use are called brain picks, B-R-A-I-N. It's made by a company called Snarling Dog. I know, weird. Both names are weird. Snarling Dog. I don't know if you can see, but there's just like a little bit of, see if I can get it to shine just the right way. Yeah. So there's a little bit of grit on this pick, and it really wants to stay in my fingers big time. Also, if the pick is falling out of your hands, chances are you're using a pick that's a little bit thicker than your technique is good. Meaning, if it's kind of like if your hair's super long and tangly, you don't use a comb. If you have very few hair or short hair, you use a comb because it takes care of the job. You don't use a brush. That's weird, right? For the same reason, if you're Rapunzel, yeah, you got super long hair or whatever, like you don't use a comb for that. You use a brush because you need to be more forgiving because it's pulling out knots and stuff like that. It's going through a lot more hair. In this case here, when you're strumming, the more strings you're hitting at once, the more forgiving you want your pick to be. And the more precise you want your pick to be when you're picking one note at a time, because you want it to be there and do exactly what you want when you're doing all these precise moves. But when you're just strumming, you need something that's a little bit more forgiving. So I would search for a pick that's a little bit thinner. Try some different picks. Buy an assortment of picks and try, because you might find that some shapes work better for you than others. And you can learn to use any pick, but you're going to find that in the beginning, there's going to be some picks that work better for you than others, okay? Thinness, and then also, like, does it have any grip on it? Lately, I've been not using those grippy ones, because if I get too far into the guitar, I can feel the grit hit the strings, and it almost wants to pull out of my hand, and that's something that I don't like. So I've been using them, but not as much. But these are super cool, man. They've served me for years. Lately, I've been using like a thinner Dunlop Ultex. Just one that's just, if I want to strum, that's what I'm going to use. Like this is a 0.6, because it gives a little bit, it bends. And so, Kathy, that's what I would do, because you want it to forgive. You don't want it to, to be pulling out of your hand. All right, friends, we got about 18 more minutes. I will need to end this just a few seconds before the 2-hour mark. It's a technical reason. I don't want to get into why that is, but there's a technical reason. So I'll need to end this at, a little bit before the 2-hour mark, okay? Okay, so Deep Patel is saying, yeah, do you have any ideas to make friends with my pick? Yeah, that's what you want to do. And here's the other thing, Kathy, is that in time, just like anything, like yoga or anything, any practice that you do, you're going to get better at it. And here you go, Kathy, think about yoga for a minute. When I know for me, if I want to get in a certain position, I know forcing it is not the key. And the second my body starts relaxing into something and I'm able to lean into a particular position, all the lights go on. And I'm like, yes, this times 1,000 in life, in everything. And so the same thing is true with a pick, in that when you're strumming, you don't want to be forceful. You don't want to be strumming super hard necessarily, unless the song calls for it, I guess. But then now you're putting some demands on yourself that may not need to be there per se yet when you're playing. So you want to make sure that that you're not forcing things, and you want to be kind of loosey-goosey a little bit with it. So when I'm picking, I find that if I hold on to the pick really super hard, then yes, it doesn't want to get out of my hand as easy, but then if I am inaccurate in my strumming, now it really wants to fly out of my hand, as opposed to being a little bit more forgiving and bouncy flouncy between my fingers. So there's a happy medium, right? The middle way, as they say. You'll find that to be true with picking as well. Deep Patel saying, I was learning the cage system. I think that there is a one-to-one from major scale shape to the chord shapes, as if the chord shapes act as a backbone. Maybe it is the other way around. I'm not sure what you mean by that, my friend, but yeah, the cage system, friends, for those that don't know, I've got videos on it on YouTube that you can watch for free, and then I have courses that really go down the rabbit hole and teach you in big, big ways. So what the cage system says is there are 5 basic major open chords: C, A, G, E, and D. And so we can play all those chord shapes further up the neck, right? Because they're bar chords. Anything you do down here, you can do further up the neck, whether it's a chord or a melody or whatever, or a triad or a dyad or whatever. Anything you do in the open position, you can move further up the neck. So with that idea in mind, and knowing that there are 5 basic open chords, we can play those 5 basic open chords further up the neck if we find where the root is all the time. So if a C, here's a C, I can play a C. I can play 2 5th string bar chords based off of this. I can play my regular C chord, and I can play the A form of the C chord. This is an A form, and I'm just moving it up, right? And then off of the 6th string, we have 2 chords. We have a G major and an E major. And so here's a C on the low E string, so I can play this form of I can play a G form of a C major chord, or an E form of a C major chord, or a D form of a C major chord. And that's cage system in a nutshell. And so you can do that with every single form. So every chord that you have that you can play in a major key, and even some of the ones that you can play in minor keys and 7ths and everything else, they have equivalents. That's what I go down to in the rabbit hole in the Caged Freedom course, where I show you not only can you do this with major chords, you can do it with minor chords, minor 7th, 7th chords, just you name it. And then once you start doing that, you're like, oh my gosh, I have all the chords at my behest. This is amazing. Okay. I punch a slot into my picks with a punch made to pick ID tags to help to a lanyard. It really helps me hold my pick. Yeah, that's really smart. I know what you're talking about, Wendy A. So what she does is she pokes a little hole right there, right in the pick with a punch. And yeah, exactly. It wants to stay in your hand when you do that. That's a really smart thing. Very smart. Peggy uses a jazz pick. It is smaller and fits my hand. Man, I used to be so into jazz picks. I may need to do that again. I used to play jazz picks all the time. Loved them. I was really into those Fender jazz picks. So jazz picks are super thin. They're like little teardrops, or not thin, but they're small. They're more than half the size, or less than half the size of a standard pick. Let's say less than, almost a third, I'd say. My pick is more so Stiv is saying the pick rest. Yeah, we'll talk about that. My pick is more friendly since adding an eyeglasses sticker rubber nose pad to one side. There you go, right? Aren't some of those bar chords? Yes, they are bar chords, Barb. Absolutely, they're bar chords. Yeah. So the cage system still allows you to play the chord all over the neck, but yeah, you're playing them in bar chord fashion. But why this is helpful is you're using the forms of those chords, so it's not like it's a mystery now. Now you're like, oh, well, I can play those forms, you know, or at least you know where they're at, you know. But yeah, bar chords for sure. Now, Stiv is saying, yeah, let's talk about the pick rest here for just a second. Okay, the pick rest. The pick rest is one of the most overlooked exercise for beginners. I'm borrowing this from what's called a rest stroke. So in classical music, we have this thing called a rest stroke where you pick with your finger and then you rest your finger on the next string. And so basically I'm taking that same concept with a pick, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to get control of your pick. If I say I'm picking on the 4th string to the 3rd string, I take the pick and I rest it on the third string. May not sound like a big deal, but for beginners, this is really, really helpful because it allows you to know, okay, well, I can do that and I don't have to like be accurate with my pick. It's just, in fact, it makes you more accurate actually using it instead of just kind of stabbing at the guitar like this. So try the pick rest. It's very, very helpful, I promise you. Okay. Analog Kids using a Dunlop Jazz 3. Nice. Or as the kids call it, a Zaz 3. I'm joking. I think, right? It's probably called a Jazz 3. Yeah, I don't have any, I don't think I have any anymore. But I mean, I got all different kinds of picks. I got stone picks, and I've got all, this is a pick by a company called Dragon's Heart. And these are kind of cool. Now, this is a very thick pick, but check it out. It looks like a heart a little bit. What's kind of cool about it is that you have these different sides. So this is like kind of a standard, and then you have this kind of rounded end, and then you have this very pointy end, which is a little bit more like a jazz pick. So like whatever you're doing, you've got that. This would be great for somebody like a session player or somebody who's, you know, wants to have everything kind of in one pick and they want to be able to do things. I don't even think there's such a thing as doing everything with one pick, but whatever. Like, I love this one too because it's like that deep red. It looks so cool. But I don't use that one very often. But I have, you know, other kinds of, like these are stone picks, and they're typically a bit darker in sound. You know, as opposed to that's a huge difference, right? That's really dark, but if you're using this guy, it's not, I mean, it's bright, this is dark. So man, using a pick, the right kind of pick is huge. I love these Ultecs, that's what I was playing just now. Huge difference, right? It's a very bright sounding pick, and I love those, man. I love a good bright pick. Yeah. Who knew jazz picks were a thing, Stiv is saying. Yeah, man, they are. They're kind of cool. This is why I say, look, if you play guitar, if you're an artist, you're going to have a bunch of different paintbrushes. Why? Because you're going to be like, well, I never used this paintbrush before. And you start using it, and you're like, ooh, that's nice. I like that. You know, and you're going to do the same thing with these picks. You're going to have a bunch of these picks, and you're going to be like, oh, I could use that for this. Or I could, well, man, this does this thing. Like I've got metal picks, right? I used to play when I was into the jazz picks, I used to play these metal picks. They weren't like this. What I did is they were always too thick, and they would chew up my strings so much, and I liked the sound of metal because it's a bright sound. And usually, this one's a little bit darker sounding than some of the other ones that I used to use. But what I did is I asked my dad for a feeler gauge, and a feeler gauge is something that determines the thickness of things. And that feeler gauge was awesome because he let me cut it up, and I could get just the thickness pick that I wanted. Now they were thin, so they were kind of like a jazz pick. And then what I did is I gave it like wings, like I bent this corner up and I bent this corner up, and so it fit perfectly into my fingers, and it was like this little jazz, almost like a little jazz pick, and I would use those a lot, and I loved them, man. You know, super, super cool. My problem is changing from open chords to bar chords. Yeah, let's talk about that. Still working on it, and I will get it, Gene. Yeah, so in a nutshell, take the open chord that you're playing, a C, you know, maybe it's a G chord, going from a G chord to a B minor. You know, that's a common chord that people have issues with, going from a G to a B minor. So what you do is in a nutshell, Gene, you probably know this, but if I'm on the G chord, I think about the B minor chord ahead of time and what my fingers will look like once I get to it. I think about it, and I don't change to the chord until I've thought about it. and I can visually, in my mind's eye, see that, and then I set my chord up. And you're gonna be much more successful thinking about where your fingers are gonna go before you get to the chord than you will be just lifting your fingers up and then haphazardly putting your fingers down, okay? So now I'm thinking about the G chord, and then in my mind's eye, I see the fingers laying down, I'm looking at my guitar neck, and then bingo bango, I'm able to get to it. And so if you do that, your margin of error will become smaller, and you'll be able to get to it better and better, okay, each time. Yeah, blimey, Eric, I can't believe the difference in sound with different picks, right? It's pretty crazy. This is why, you know, be a connoisseur of picks. I have more picks than I'll ever use in my whole life, and some of them I've had for a long time, for many, some of them I've had for decades, which is kind of funny. But these Ultex are my favorite, bar none. They're called Dunlop Ultex, ULTX. Get them, and I guarantee you'll love them because they really are. I'm not endorsed by them. They don't pay me to say that. I just love them. They have a little rhino on it, and they're somewhat clear, or at least these are. And so I have like 0.88. That's the one that I'm using a lot lately here, 0.88. Now if I'm strumming the guitar, a 0.6 or 0.60, I use that one quite a bit. And then I think I have a thicker one too here. I think I have like a 1 millimeter. And so I love using those. So you can think about this as being 0.88 of a millimeter, because that's what it is. And they're bright. What's really cool about them is that if you do like, you know, pick scrapes and stuff like that, they don't fall apart. You could play these picks for forever. I could play one of these picks for years, and it's gonna work great. As opposed to like a Fender or something like that, you use that, it gets all scraped up. It loses its edge and stuff like right away. And the tone is amazing on those. I love them. Okay, we're rounding third here, my friends. I'm gonna have to end this one in just a minute. So let me get these last few here, and then I'll give you a direction, and then we'll be heading into something new tomorrow. Okay, I've been using either the Dunlop Max Grip 0.73 for my thinner pick, and Zager has one that's a little thicker. It's larger with holes at each point, and one in the center holds onto it easier. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Gene. Beautiful, thanks, friend. I just got a Gibson Les Paul tribute. Oh my God, I'm in love. Love it, so cool. I use a 2.0 millimeter Dunlop flow picks. I like the bounce. Yeah, okay, nice. All right, my friends, here's the deal. We're heading out for today. If you haven't watched these other ones, please join us. We've had like 10,000 plus people watch them over the last few days, which is so cool. So many people getting in the course that I'm setting you up with, which is pay what you can. But Eric, I feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about that. If you can't pay it, don't pay anything. If you can pay it, then please pay it forward, because it will help us to do things like this in the future. If this is a thing, and I keep the lights on by doing that, then I will do that, and you will get a lot more lessons. But one way to do that is by sharing this with other people. So sharing this, if you're on Facebook, share it with others. If you're on wherever you're at, YouTube, share it. All Instagram, Twitter, wherever it's playing right now. I don't know all the places it's playing, but nonetheless, share it with other people. That will help me get other people in the program and what have you, and then I can provide more free things, more pay what you can type stuff. Okay, got a lot of really cool things available for you guys. Also, I'm getting ready to announce something ginormical. I mean ginormical on Monday, okay? Whether you're a pro member or whether you are not a pro member, I'm going to be announcing something ginormical on Monday, so get ready for it, okay? Make sure you're on my email list, get the bundle, that will assure that you are. Okay, love you guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Great questions. You guys really brought it today. I'll see you tomorrow, and we're going to talk about blues, both rhythm and lead. Okay? All right, guys. See you. Bye.